This wasn't just a scene, this was emotional damage in slow motion. 8 minutes, just 8, and somehow Mary and Tom managed to ruin my sanity, rewrite my expectations, and make every other romance feel completely irrelevant. Because what they did here, this wasn't loud love, this was the kind that sneaks up on you, sits quietly in your chest, and then completely wrecks you when you least expect it. It starts so quietly that you almost miss it. No grand entrance, no dramatic music screaming for your attention, just Mary existing in her usual space, overlooked, underestimated, and constantly treated like she's standing on the outside of her own life. And that's what makes this hit so much harder, because you can feel how used she is to being unseen. Every word she speaks feels measured, like she's already expecting no one to truly listen. And then Tom, not in a loud, heroic way, not in a look at me, I'm the romantic lead kind of way. No, he enters her world gently, almost like he's afraid to disturb something fragile. But what makes him different is that he sees her, not the version everyone else tolerates, not the acceptable Mary, the real one, the one she doesn't even fully believe is worth noticing. And the moment that realization starts to sink in, that's when everything shifts. Because suddenly Mary isn't just reacting anymore, she's feeling. There's this subtle tension in every interaction they have. The pauses last just a little too long, the eye contact lingers just a second more than it should, and it's not accidental, it's layered, it's confusing, it's the kind of connection that neither of them fully understands yet, but both of them are already being pulled into. And what makes it even more intense is how natural it feels. There's no forced chemistry here, no dramatic declarations right away. Instead, it builds through the smallest things, shared conversations, quiet understanding, the way Tom speaks to her like she actually matters. And for Mary, that's dangerous, because the moment you've spent your entire life being overlooked, the smallest bit of attention doesn't just feel nice, it feels overwhelming. You can literally see her trying to make sense of it. Why is he talking to me like this? Why does he listen so carefully? Why does it feel like I matter and Tom, he's not even playing a game? That's the part that makes it hurt more. He's just being honest in a world where honesty is rare. He's kind without expecting anything, attentive without making it obvious, and slowly, without realizing it, he becomes the one person Mary starts to feel safe around. But here's where it gets complicated, because the moment something real begins to form, the world around them doesn't pause to let it happen. Expectations creep in, other people start interfering, conversations get interrupted, assumptions start replacing truth, and suddenly what was once simple becomes painfully complicated. And Mary, she starts pulling back, not because she doesn't feel it, but because she feels it too much. That fear, that quiet sinking fear that maybe this isn't real, that maybe she's misunderstood everything, that maybe, just like always, she's about to be reminded that she was never meant to be chosen in the first place. And Tom can sense it. He doesn't fully understand it yet, but he feels the distance growing, the hesitation, the walls slowly going back up. And for the first time, there's uncertainty in him too, because now it's not just about noticing her anymore. It's about not losing her before he even gets the chance to truly have her. And just when you think they might finally say what needs to be said, just when it feels like everything is about to fall into place, something shifts. Something interrupts, and everything they didn't say suddenly becomes louder than anything they ever could. Because what happens when two people feel everything but say nothing at the exact moment it matters most? And this is where it stops feeling soft and starts hurting. Because now it's not just about quiet glances and almost moments anymore. Now there are other people in the space between them, voices, expectations, assumptions, filling the silence that Mary and Tom should have been brave enough to fill themselves. And the worst part, none of it is entirely false, but none of it is completely true either. Mary starts hearing things, not directly, not clearly, but enough to plant doubt, enough to make her question everything she thought she understood. Because when you've spent your entire life being the one who is overlooked, it doesn't take much to convince you that you imagined something that felt too good to be real. And suddenly Tom's kindness doesn't feel simple anymore. It feels suspicious. It feels like maybe he's just being polite. Maybe he's just being kind because that's who he is. Maybe those moments, the looks, the conversations, the way he made her feel seen weren't as meaningful as she believed. And that realization, it doesn't just hurt, it crushes her. Because now she's not just dealing with confusion, she's dealing with embarrassment. That quiet, painful kind of embarrassment where you start wondering if everyone else saw something you didn't, if you misunderstood something that was never yours to begin with. So she does what she's always done. She retreats. You can feel it in the way she speaks, more guarded now, more distant. The warmth is still there, buried somewhere deep, but she's actively trying to suppress it, trying to protect herself before the inevitable disappointment hits. But here's the problem. Tom notices everything. He notices the shift in her tone, the way her eyes don't linger anymore, the way she physically creates distance where there used to be comfort. And for him, it doesn't make sense because from his perspective, nothing has changed except her. So now he's confused too. And this is where the tension becomes unbearable because both of them are reacting to something the other never actually said. Mary thinks she's stepping back from something that was never real. Tom thinks he's losing something that was real without knowing why. And instead of talking about it, they both stay silent. And then, just when the emotional pressure is already too much, someone else steps in. Another name, another presence, another possibility that suddenly makes everything feel even more fragile. Because now, it's not just about misunderstanding anymore. It's about competition, about timing, about the terrifying possibility that if they don't figure this out soon, someone else might take the place they didn't even admit they wanted. And Mary sees it. She sees him interacting with others. She hears the way people talk. She watches moments unfold that she wasn't part of. And every single one feels like confirmation of her worst fears. Of course, you can almost hear her thinking, of course it was never me. And instead of fighting for clarity, she chooses acceptance. Not because it's easier, but because it feels safer than hoping. Meanwhile, Tom is being pulled in directions he never intended to go. Conversations are happening around him, decisions are being assumed for him, and before he even realizes it, he's being placed into a narrative that doesn't fully belong to him. And the most frustrating part, Mary believes it. She believes the version of events that keeps them apart. She believes the silence more than she believes what she felt, and that's where everything starts to break. Because now when they finally stand in the same space again, it's different. There's tension, but not the soft, hopeful kind from before. This time, it's heavy, uncomfortable, full of things they're both too afraid to say. Their words don't match their feelings anymore. Their actions don't reflect what's actually in their hearts. And every second they stay in this misunderstanding, it just grows deeper, more complicated, more painful. And you can feel it building to something that has to explode. Because there's only so long two people can pretend not to feel something this strong before it turns into something else entirely. Regret, distance, or worse, silence that lasts too long to fix. And the question that starts creeping in now is terrifyingly simple. What if they missed their moment? Not because the feeling wasn't real, but because they were both too afraid to believe it was. And this is the point where everything stops being quiet pain and turns into something much louder, because you can only hold back so much before it starts spilling out in ways you never planned. Mary reaches that edge first, not in a dramatic, explosive way, but in something far more devastating: honesty. The kind that doesn't come out perfectly, the kind that's slightly defensive, slightly emotional, and completely real. You can feel how much she's been holding in, how every word is carrying the weight of everything she didn't say before. And when she finally lets even a fraction of it slip, it changes everything, because Tom hears it. Not the polished version, not something carefully explained. He hears the confusion, the hurt, the quiet accusation hidden beneath her words, and for the first time, he realizes that whatever is happening between them, it's not one-sided, it never was, but instead of fixing things, it complicates them even more. Because now he has to face something he hasn't fully admitted to himself yet. This isn't just admiration. This isn't just kindness. This isn't just comfort. This is something deeper, something that has been building slowly, quietly, without either of them fully acknowledging it. And now that it's out in the open, even partially, there's no going back to how things were. But here's where it hurts the most: timing. Because just as things begin to surface, just as honesty starts breaking through the confusion, circumstances shift again. Obligations, expectations, decisions that don't wait for feelings to catch up. And suddenly Tom is being pulled away at the exact moment he should be stepping closer. And Mary sees it happen, not the full truth, just the surface of it, just enough to make it look like he's choosing something else. Choosing someone else, choosing a path that doesn't include her. And that's it. That's the moment her heart quietly breaks. Not with tears, not with a dramatic scene, but with acceptance, that painful, calm acceptance that tells her this was never yours to keep. And once she reaches that point, something inside her shifts permanently. She stops hoping, she stops waiting, she stops allowing herself to imagine a version of reality where she is chosen, and when Tom comes back, because of course he doesn't find the same Mary he left behind. He finds someone who has already started letting him go, and that realization, it hits him harder than anything else. Because now, for the first time, he understands exactly what he stands to lose. Not just her presence, not just her conversations, her, the way she makes him feel, the way she sees him, the way everything feels more real when she's near. And suddenly the fear shifts. It's not Mary being afraid of being unchosen anymore. It's Tom realizing he might be too late. And once that thought settles in, once that panic starts creeping through him, there's only one thing left to do: say it. Finally, clearly, undeniably say what should have been said from the very beginning. But what if saying it now isn't enough anymore? Because when everything has already started falling apart, words don't fix things the way they used to. Tom tries, you can feel it in the urgency, in the way his composure starts slipping just enough to reveal what's underneath. This isn't the calm, observant man from before. This is someone who is running out of time, someone who is realizing that silence has cost him more than he expected. And for the first time, he stops holding back. He chooses honesty, not carefully measured, not hidden behind politeness, but direct, vulnerable, and real. The kind of confession that doesn't just say, "I like you." It says you matter to me in a way no one else does. And for a moment, everything pauses because Mary hears it, really hears it, and you can see the impact instantly. The walls she built, the distance she created, the version of herself that had already started moving on, it all starts to crack because this is what she needed. Not assumptions, not gestures, not half-spoken words, truth. But here's the problem. Truth doesn't erase what she's already felt. It doesn't erase the doubt, the confusion, the quiet heartbreak she endured while believing she was never truly chosen. And so even though she feels it, even though part of her wants to believe him, she hesitates. And that hesitation, it's painful because now the roles are reversed. Now he is the one waiting. Now he is the one hoping she believes him. Now he is the one afraid that maybe he waited too long. And this moment, this fragile, uncertain, emotionally charged moment becomes the turning point because it's no longer about whether they feel something. It's about whether they're brave enough to trust it. And then it happens. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but honestly, the distance between them finally closes, not just physically, but emotionally. Everything they've been holding back, everything they've been misunderstanding, everything that's been building for what feels like forever finally meets in the middle. And when they kiss, it doesn't feel like a beginning. It feels like relief, like tension finally breaking, like two people who spent too long circling around something finally allowing themselves to step into it. It's soft, but it's powerful. Simple, but overwhelming. And in that moment, everything else fades. The noise, the expectations, the confusion, it's just them. And it's real. But even then, even in that perfect, long-awaited moment, there's still one question left hanging in the air. Because what happens after the feeling becomes real? When the world that tried to keep them apart is still waiting outside. Because reality doesn't disappear just because two people finally admit how they feel. If anything, it becomes even more complicated. Now there are consequences. Now there are expectations that haven't magically gone away. People who still have opinions, situations that still need to be addressed, and for Mary and Tom, stepping into something real means facing everything they were able to avoid when it was still unspoken. But this time, something is different. Mary is different. She is no longer the version of herself who quietly accepts being overlooked. no longer the one who steps back before anyone even asks her to. Because now she knows. She was never invisible. She was just waiting for the right person to truly see her. And Tom, he doesn't hesitate anymore. The uncertainty that once held him back is gone. Because now he understands exactly what this is and, more importantly, what it's worth. And when you finally recognize something real, something rare, something that changes the way you see everything else, you don't risk losing it again. So this time, he stays. Not halfway, not uncertain. Fully. And that's what makes this entire journey hit so differently. It's not just about romance, it's about growth, about timing, about two people who had to become the right versions of themselves before they could truly choose each other. Because if this had happened earlier, if the confession came too soon, if the understanding wasn't fully there, it might not have lasted. But now it means something deeper. And that's why those 8 minutes feel so overwhelming, because you're not just watching a love story unfold, you're watching two people fight through doubt, silence, and misunderstanding, just to reach a moment that feels almost too real to be scripted. And when it's over, when everything settles, when the emotions finally catch up to you, you realize something. It wasn't just them floating, it was you too, completely lost in it, completely affected by it, completely changed by something so quiet, yet so powerful. And the most dangerous part? Moments like this don't just stay in the story, they stay with you. So now the real question is, after feeling something like this, how do you ever go back to watching love the same way again?